What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here alongside Josh Davis. It's not a Wednesday Link Live. It is a Sunday live show with breaking news from Philadelphia, signing 2 linebackers, getting rid of 1, and we're going to have plenty of live coverage for the Eagles' home practice opener, essentially. Their 1 practice at the Lincoln Financial Field this year, and we're going to have some live footage from that as well. Josh, hello. Good evening. Happy Sunday.
Good evening. Happy Sunday. Yeah, it feels kind of odd to be, together, I guess, on a Sunday, but whenever
Right.
there's an open practice like this, and obviously the breaking, shocking news to, I think, a
Yes.
lot of us for the
Yes.
linebacker signings, it's a great reason to come on and talk about Eagles. So I'm curious to get your thoughts. I know we'll get into it further, but just the whole signings and everything else that shocked me. I was excited to see it, but just between both veterans, Myles Jack and
Yeah.
Zach Cunningham, I mean, I don't know. I'm curious to know what you make of it.
It's rare, and we're going to talk about this a lot here. I do want to mention that we are getting ready for the Eagles live practice. That's kind of the point of this stream. We're going to give you guys updates from
Yes.
their full padded practice happening, obviously, at Lincoln Financial Field. They're out there right now, but it's minutes. Here's a live look at Nick Sirianni as you see him up on your screen, or we're trying to get him to actually be talking. Let's see if they paused it on PhiladelphiaEagles.com. There we go. Now we're going to have a live look at Nick Sirianni. He is meeting with the media right now, and so we're going to keep an eye on this and make sure that we can probably give you guys some live footage from a camp if they give us some footage. So this is going to be a lot of fun as we go ahead and hang out with you guys, answer questions, and obviously talk about some of the big signings that just happened as well. But you see Nick Sirianni talking to the media right now. Is Josh. Because I think that's kind of the main focus here is how did they get 2 linebackers, or what made them want to get 2 linebackers? It's very rare you see football teams go ahead and sign 2 people for the same position at the exact same time. It's that they both worked them out yesterday. We found out that news, and so it's like, okay, well, they're going to go ahead and work these guys out. Zach Cunningham versus Myles Jack. Do you have a preference here? I mean, is Howie just loading up at linebacker and going to throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks? What's going on here in your mind?
I mean, yeah, it's not the worst strategy, right? Like you just want to see who you can get and who's going to pair up with Nakobe Dean. Obviously, we got the
Right.
injury with the ankle, and it's day to day, nothing major. I know that there were some people probably trolling, most likely, but like, oh man,
Probably
is
so.
Nakobe going to lose his job? Or he's safe. He's going to be the green dot
Yeah.
man. But the other question is, yes, to your point, like, who's going to be the other linebacker next to him? And I think that it's what we've been talking about on other live shows, but it's you look at the linebacker group, and obviously Davion Taylor being released for the second time on the team, and you can make what you do of that. But there's the depth or the lack of depth, and I think that we started seeing little question marks, I guess, because whenever
Yeah.
Nakobe's not on the field, okay, it's Christian Ellis, it's Nicholas Morrow, but you signed Nicholas Morrow thinking, okay, maybe because he led the Bears in tackles, but then all of a
Right.
sudden Nolan Smith is stealing some first team reps, and that's definitely not who you want most likely at your off ball linebacker position. So you're like, okay, there's got to be something here. There's get. And I know both of us have talked about Myles Jack, Zach Cunningham, several others over the offseason. And so, like I say, it's very surprising, though, to your point, you signed both rather than just one, but I'm for it. I mean, if you want to have the camp competition, and like we've talked about, there's no better way than saying, hey, you know what? Christian Ellis has been making plays, but we're not solidified in that. We're going to say we're bringing in some other veterans. We're going to see what they can do if they can pick up this system. To me, I mean, you ask like who I prefer, it's Zach Cunningham. Like, I
Yeah.
know that there's a lot of people on the Myles Jack, and I'm not saying that he's done, but the injuries and there's been some question marks with his coverage ability, especially in recent years. It seems like a decline. Maybe he's still got something in the tank, but to me, it's Zach Cunningham when healthy, and that's I guess the biggest question mark for a lot of the guys that you bring in, but especially the 2 linebackers. But this guy's a stud, and I think that also the size that he could pair up if he ends up starting with Nakobe Dean. Nakobe's a shorter linebacker. I think that he's great in terms of tackling and stopping the run and being that signal caller. But if you've got a guy pass coverage who's 6'3", like 242,
Big.
and a veteran who's been on teams of the Titans and the Texans, I mean, I'm pumped about that. I would really love to see it if he is full strength, 100%. That would be my vote. But again, I mean, going back to it, I don't think it's a bad thing ever whenever you sign some proven veterans and say, hey, you know what? This is a 1-year deal. This is a go prove yourself. And these guys, obviously, I mean, surely, like every offseason free agent has said, was want to play want to play for Philly. Like, there's not a better place to come into. So I'm hyped to see it. I can't wait. But are you on the same, I guess, for Zach Cunningham? Do you for Myles Jack, or where are you at?
Yeah, I'm on the same thing with Zach Cunningham. To me, it feels like a Rashad Penny signing from a linebacker spot, right? low risk, high reward, often injured, very talented when he's been able to stay on the football field. If you can keep him healthy and get the most out of him, he might be a pretty good player, right? And so it's very similar to the Penny signing. Jack is the household name because he was supposed to be really good, and then when he was Jacksonville Jaguars, supposed to be fantastic, and then the Steelers signed him, I think last offseason. They thought he was going to be really good. Clearly not the same linebacker, and so my guess is one of the two of these will be cut. But with Davion Taylor being cut as well, which we're going to talk about here in a second, it does create some room to rotate people in there and see what's happening. Now, I do think, though, and I don't want to rain on anybody's Christian Ellis parade here, you don't sign these two linebackers if Christian Ellis is just bawling out of his mind and the greatest thing since sliced bread. Not to say he's been bad, he's been starting, but maybe they don't feel as confident in Ellis being a day one starter, and so they want to make sure they check all of their boxes before going out there and saying it's Dean and Christian Ellis. Just a thought there. But the one linebacker we didn't hear anything about the first week and a half of camp was Davion Taylor. You had heard some Sean Bradley stuff that he looks a little bit better, and so it was kind of a race between Davion Taylor and Sean Bradley on who was going to be cut first, and seemingly without any updates on Davion Taylor, he's the guy that's going to go ahead and be let go, which is a bummer. He's a third-round draft pick. You shouldn't be cutting third-round draft picks on rookie contracts. Shows you that, just couldn't really figure it out, and wish him the best of luck, but now you have two guys with potential if they can stay healthy and if they're needed. Or you roll with Christian Ellis, Nakobe Dean, and Morrow, and then Myles Jack and Zach Cunningham are backups, and they can play special teams and do what backup linebackers are supposed to do. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see who starts where, which team defense are these guys at, and how quickly can they get there? Because I think they have a rest day tomorrow, and then Tuesday will be the next practice because today's the last day of 3 in a row. It's kind of how it works. And so we're going to see very, very interesting depth chart lineups, not only tonight when they do this live practice in about 10 minutes, but also whenever they go ahead and get these guys in the building, caught up to speed, and all that sort of stuff. Because my guess is they're either flying there right now, or they are in Philadelphia, or they're getting there as soon as possible, and that's going to be very interesting. So we'll see about that. Quickly, welcoming in a bunch of people right now. We're saying hi to all the usuals, Brian Biting and Mike Halo.
What's up?
Fallen Thomas, Ohana means family. You see right next to us here, Nick Sirianni. He's live inside Lincoln Financial Field. This is a live shot from PhiladelphiaEagles.com showing you how close we are to getting onto the football field with practice, right? Sirianni, pre-practice, whether he's at the Link or at the NovaCare Complex, he does do a press conference, so he's answering questions right now, and then we're going to get you hopefully some live footage of obviously them practicing at Lincoln Financial Field, depending on what we're given. So we will see about that, but again, the linebackers being signed, and don't forget that they brought back Josh Sills as well, seemingly your new backup center, Josh.
Right. There's another case to be made of, is that going to happen, or why is the name escaping me? Who was the other offensive lineman? They just signed with the big announcement. Who was that? Is it Andrews? First name, I think it's something Andrews. I don't know why I can't think of it.
I'm blanking on it.
But yeah, an offensive lineman, veteran, center guard, so there's that. There's Josh Sills. So question mark of, like who that's going to be. But again, you say, okay, is competition a good thing? Absolutely in this case.
Right.
And going back to just quickly the point that you made about the linebackers too, I mean, it's a great point also of you're adding veteran presence, like you mentioned, but you got two of those. And if you take a look at the position groupings, just about every position grouping on this team has that veteran presence. And so, the linebacking core was missing that, to say the least. I mean, you've got Nicholas Morrow, but it's still, he's got a unique story of not really playing a whole lot. He did play well for one season, but there's obviously question marks to begin with. But you've got some proven vets who can show up and not only hopefully produce, but also it's just great to have those minds in the locker room. So I'm pumped to see it. I think it'll be good. I do wonder, are we going to see, is there a chance, I guess, maybe they stuck around in Philly because they knew this is about to happen. Now they're not going to practice, but if we see him on the sidelines or something, that'd be kind of cool. But I don't know, it'd be interesting to see. Also, do you notice, I just picked up on this, but I don't think I've seen Sirianni rep a Kenny Gainwell, but I don't know if that's a new shirt or what, but he's got Kenneth Gainwell down there. Is that new?
The camera shot here, again, the live feed of Sirianni not giving us what it says below that. So it says Eagles, Kenneth Gainwell, and then whatever it says below there. So for this, Nick Sirianni is very famous with his T-shirts. It's almost as famous as the pen hanging out of his visor there on his right-hand side. Still, I think Xander Phoenix said in the chat, Sirianni rocking the Kenny Gainwell tee. Hey, listen, he rocks his players. He likes his players. I just noticed that as well. So probably 8 minutes away from them getting started with practice. These open practices are always interesting. You're going to get basically a normal practice just at the Link in front of people, right? And there are probably going to be a couple thousand Eagle fans in the lower bowl at Lincoln Financial Field. And they'll do some 11-on-11s. They'll do some 7-on-7s. They'll do some 1-on-1s. And remember, famously last year, the one play from the Eagles open practice we all remember was Jordan Davis versus Cam Jurgens. And Jordan Davis, pile drived him back about 15 feet as Cam Jurgens just kind of hopped backwards. So, it
Yeah.
remains to be
And he
seen what the.
regretted it too. I
He
mean,
did. He did.
appreciate that. But yes, that was the obviously highlight. If you ask anyone about last year, that's the immediate first thing that comes up. So yeah, I don't know if we'll get that, but I am interested to see. Like, and we kind of mentioned it earlier, I guess, on the previous live show that we did on Wednesday. But if Nolan Smith or Jalen Carter, especially, if either of them do anything noteworthy, it's just going to blow up on
Yes.
Twitter. So just get prepared. If there's anything that we see at all remotely close to that, it's going to be crazy.
Totally agree. Again, if you guys are in the comment section right now, give the show a thumbs up. We got over 350 people watching on both Josh and my channels right now. Make sure you give the show a thumbs up. We got 50 likes. We get over 50 likes. That way people are trying to find the live stream for the practice stuff we're going to do. Obviously, go ahead and help them out that way. A lot of people joining us again right now. Xander Phoenix says, Philly Eagles got Nicholas Morrow on a one-year deal, no guaranteed money, mentioning that you technically could cut Nicholas Morrow if Cunningham or Myles Jack were to play well. He seems to kind of be the odd man out right now if he doesn't continue to play well, because again, he's not starting over Christian Ellis. And while Morrow is new and they kind of let veterans, start the first couple of days of training camp, we're a week and a half into training camp, and Ellis keeps starting alongside Nakobe Dean, meaning Morrow hasn't earned that spot yet. So it is a good point. Something that Michael Phantom just said. Are we keeping Zach Cunningham and Myles Jack, or we just sign both to see who we like more? That kind of feels like it.
A great question.
We just got to emphasize, this is not normal, right? The Eagles signing 2 defensive tackles last year during the season in Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh is not normal to do. And it was kind of a one-off thing, yet here we go again. They've done it again. Now, they kept both Joseph and Suh, and so theoretically you could keep both of them, but it's going to be interesting. I think it'll be the best man up, and I think Zach Cunningham has a really good chance of winning that. And we're going to be honest, just based on previous play and the fact that Myles Jack has kind of been unable to be with a team, right? Anyone who's unsigned on August 6th, 2023, means there is something that's not right with them. There's something that's, hinting there, and that's why it took him so long. And for Cunningham, it seems like injuries, and for Jack, it seems like play on the field. So I think, we're going to lean a little more Cunningham, but we have no idea. We got to get these guys in the building, got to get them acclimated. Plenty of time. Although, as I saw today on Twitter, training camp is halfway done, Josh, which is crazy to think about. We're halfway done with training camp.
Yeah, that is
already. So we'll see.
We're less than a week away from the first preseason game? Can you believe
so.
that? Less than a week away from the big trip too. That's exciting.
Yep.
I do need to point out also, there's another comment that I saw here. It looks like we've got Sim Cox, who says, been loving the content, generally new reviewer. Hope you're streaming during games this year. Yes, we are absolutely streaming during games this year. So preseason games and regular season games, but appreciate the support for sure.
Yep, both of which are going to be live on both of our channels. You guys subscribe and make sure you stay tuned for that as we try and have a bunch of fun during preseason games, obviously, and then during regular season games. We're going to have weekly giveaways. We gave away 2 Kelly Green jerseys this past week. We're going to do a lot more fun stuff like that, so definitely be sure to hang out for that, as it's going to be very, very fun overall. Okay, again, big things to look out for tonight as we get ready for this live open practice to the media, Josh. Starters are whatever. You talk about Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown. I want to see what Tanner McKee does in 11-on-11s, both today and going forward this week into the preseason game, because all we've heard is that Marcus Mariota hasn't looked that good. Now, he's had a couple of nice passes here and there, but when it comes down to it, the person throwing interceptions at Eagles training camp, it's not Jalen Hurts, albeit one time from Darius Slay. It's Marcus Mariota. And you start to kind of wonder, this means the backup spot is open, right? If Tanner McKee outduels Mariota, who probably will start on Saturday against the Baltimore Ravens, I mean, hey, you could see Mariota being cut. He's by no means guaranteed to be on this roster.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a little far. I
Maybe a
do
little.
hear your point. Yes, if he were to play terrible, I think we talked about it in the past too. Brett Toth is not helping him. I mean, let's be honest. The reports are not just like a one practice thing. It's been multiple practices now where Brett Toth is snapping, or lack of being able to snap the football has really hurt Mariota. Now, again, he's made some bad decisions, obviously, from the reports and the turnovers and everything there. But, I think it's one of those things that scheme fit, Mariota has the veteran presence. He has the experience. He's probably going to get the benefit of the doubt, which obviously, I mean, both of us know that, and everyone knows that kind of in this type of league. So it's concerning a little bit, yes, because he's having these struggles, but I don't think it's near the, hey, we're going to cut him, or we're going to do something else there. But I am curious, what you mentioned there with McKee is, can he end up surpassing, or it sounds like he kind of is, but Ian Book there, is he going to move to that third spot in the quarterback view? Maybe, I don't know, but I'm interested to see everyone. It seems like Joseph and God is helping just about everyone. So, you talk about another name to watch or a potential there. he seems to get a lot of the targets with the second team and third team. So that's another name that I'll be curious with Charleston Rambo being cut. I think that might signify the possibility of, okay, hey, you know what? There's already some guys on the roster that they like. I don't know if I've seen anything. Have you seen anything on Deion Kane? I know that he's been injured. Is he still injured, or do we know?
He as of the most recent injury report, which was I think it was yesterday or the day before.
Okay.
He's still out with the ankle injury, and so
Okay. Yep.
and we still have not gotten Devin Allen out there as well. And so a guy like Ngata, as you just mentioned, is trying to make the most of these opportunities, at least for a practice squad spot. He's got to be the leader in the clubhouse from a wide receiver perspective, because we know Zacchaeus and we know Quez Watkins are going to be 4 and 5, or 3 and 4 based on that. Who's 5? It's probably Covey for his punt return abilities. 6 is kind of the spot. We've talked about this before. And if you can get to number 6, you're either going to be on the roster or be one injury away from being on the active roster playing on the Eagles practice squad.
Yeah, yeah, and it'll be interesting to see. I don't know, where do you feel you're at? I guess because it's like you mentioned there, the wide receiver 5, wide receiver 6. Do you think that the Birds are going to keep 6 receivers? Or do you think they stick at 5?
5 seems like the logical answer. There
Yeah,
doesn't seem
yeah,
to be a reason to keep 6. It's like, unless this team has some sort of major injury, or they just don't want to keep that many linebackers, for instance, or they don't need that many cornerbacks, and they want to have an extra guy in there. I just don't see it happening as well. I just don't see it happening at all. So we'll see. We'll see.
I
It's going to be
agree.
interesting.
Yeah.
Waiting for a feed to see if we do get a feed from the Philadelphia Eagles themselves of the practice, which they did last year, and so we're kind of waiting on that. Obviously, practice is going to get started here at 7 o'clock, so the Nick Sirianni press conference just ended, so we're going to see if we get a feed. If not, it'll just be us here hanging out. A lot of people asking down below if the ticket giveaway is tonight. The answer to that is no. We're doing the ticket giveaway during the final preseason game, I believe, but you can still enter with any super chat. $1 one entry, $50
Still
50
going on.
entries. Still going on. We had a lot of entries this past week, and a lot of you guys are trying to get in on our ticket giveaway. If you're new, any super chat you do get you entered into a chance to win 2 Eagles tickets to any regular season game this year that you want, courtesy of Josh and myself. So plenty of chances, but tonight is not the drawing, but still a chance to go ahead and pick one up.
Which would be very, very exciting. And if you want to come with us, you can. We're going to go to, it's 99% sure. We haven't purchased it yet, but 99% sure going to go to the Dallas game in Dallas. And then curious on maybe if and where we go. I think we've leaned towards, if we go to Philly, it'll be for the Miami game, Sunday Night
Right.
Football. But again, not officially sure there. But maybe we go together, and that'd be awesome.
That
Or
would
you
be a
can
lot of fun.
go on your own.
Yep. Yeah, you don't have to go with us. You could just go.
We'll stay away from you.
On your own. So it's up to you whether you want to do that or not, as we're waiting to see if we get some practice footage here. Some are saying it's on the Eagles YouTube, but I'm not sure that it is, because I keep checking to see if the Eagles YouTube themselves are going to go live with the stream here.
It was
does not
last
seem to be
year, and they
that
just
way.
haven't yet.
Yep, they did go
Yeah, I'm not
last year.
seeing it either.
Yeah, so we're going to keep an eye on that as people are just joining us right now. We're up to, let's see, over 500 people are joining us live right now, waiting for this live broadcast to go, hopefully, of Eagles practice. If you're just joining us, you're wondering a little bit on the 2 linebacker signings today. It's interesting. It doesn't happen often. We mentioned this when we went live about 17 minutes ago, when we were at the top of the hour. It's not necessarily a ground-breaking move. It doesn't guarantee Zach Cunningham or Myles Jack are going to start for Philadelphia anytime soon. But getting rid of Davion Taylor does show you where they are at. They feel like Nakobe Dean and Christian Ellis are your leaders in the clubhouse. Morrow is somewhere in the mixture. He started a couple times, but not every single practice, to indicate that he's balling out of his mind. Sean Bradley, he's always been a great special teams player. Can he start at middle linebacker? Probably not. And so they want to bring in competition to make sure they have their guys. And this does seem like a logical step, Josh, to trading for Patrick Queen, if that's the end goal, right? You have your guys in-house. You cut one of the guys in-house. You sign 2 cheaper people you don't have to trade for on the free agent market. You let them play, for a week, for 2 weeks, 1 preseason game, 2 preseason game, whatever it is. Okay, don't like them. They can get axed. I'm sure they're both getting veteran minimum, super cheap deals. Then you could trade for Patrick Queen in a C.J. Gardner-Johnson-esque sort of situation at the end of training camp, if you need to fill that hole. So we're not saying it's officially over, but it definitely could happen if they wanted to, and we're going to obviously have updates if they were to do that.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, could you imagine if we saw that? It would surprise us, but it also wouldn't, because again, like you alluded to with the C.J. Gardner-Johnson, I think that was like, wait, what? Where did this come from? And that was in August of last year, and relatively, very close to the start of the season. So, yeah, I think we all at this point just hold out knowing Howie is probably going to do something that is shocking or very surprising or just obviously something that really impacts the team in a very positive way. So I agree with you. I love it right now. You get these players in, see how they fit with Desai. If they still have something that you like, that's great. But if not, there's obviously still a lot of cap space. And Howie sets it up that way for a reason to say, you know what, if I need to go make a move, I'm going to make a move and go get somebody. So, could we see someone like a Patrick Queen that you mentioned? Maybe. I would say as of today, I'm going to say probably not. But I'm hopeful to see these guys because we've talked about it in the open here. But Zach Cunningham is definitely where I'm leaning. But Myles Jack, maybe he's got something left in the tank, but it's never a bad thing. Like you even mentioned with Linval Joseph and Domikong Su, I think that could be the MO as well of how he saw that last year, which was kind of unheard of, like you were speaking towards, but saying, hey, you know what, that worked. So let's give it another shot. Let's sign 2 veterans who can play whenever they're at their best or whenever they're healthy, can play some good football, see if they can win out with a starting job. And if not, like you mentioned there, we can go ahead and make a move. But I don't know. As of today, probably not on the Patrick Queen, but I would love it. I think most of us would, because that's a very, proven commodity there to say next
Right.
to Kobe Dean. It'd be very scary. I don't know. I'm unsure about that. But I did want to, wanted to ask you too, because I know we got a lot of comments here we got to get to.
Yeah.
But the questions being brought up here, I see with Stoll and Calcaterra and tight end questions we had done on Wednesday and talking about Calcaterra, and like we hadn't heard a whole lot about it. Is there
Right.
questions there? It seems like over the last couple of practices, and I don't know why, no rhyme or reason for it, but all of a sudden you start hearing his name a little bit more. Is that, do you think, alarming, or maybe not alarming, but is that noteworthy of saying, well, maybe he's making plays, or is it just kind of coincidence that all of a sudden, no, there's his name popping up a little bit?
It's probably a little bit of both. It's probably a little bit coincidence in the fact he's making some plays. We always mention, right? Not every play gets tweeted about from Eagle beat writers, therefore noticed by people who aren't at practice, but a lot of the really good ones do. If you make a good play, we're going to be reading about it on Twitter. And so Calcaterra hadn't done that until a couple of days ago, and now his name's popped up on my Twitter timeline multiple times. And listen, you go back and watch a little bit of Calcaterra footage from YouTube this past season. When he was targeted, looked pretty good. I mean, honestly, I really
Yeah.
see a great pass-catching tight end. He was drafted to go ahead and do that. And so while Stoll also has some good catches across the middle, I feel like Calcaterra has the keys to the castle in that category, and the preseason is going to be a great time to go and showcase that. What do quarterbacks love most when they don't fully understand offenses? It's to find that security blanket. It's to throw to tight ends. And you think about preseason Marcus Mariota, he should find Grant Calcaterra a lot. A preseason Tanner McKee, Ian Book. Calcaterra should be out there because you're not going to play Dallas Goedert that much. So we'll see what happens, obviously, tonight with the obviously waiting to see if we get some sort of live footage of the Eagles practice, which we have not gotten any of that yet, but we'll see if we get any updates on what's happening with Calcaterra and the rest of the guys out there. People are asking about Myles Jack, Josh, and while both of us don't think he's bad, he's very fast. He was really good for a while there with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Something has kind of fallen off to the point where it's basically at this, and he's unsigned until today. And you go through a full offseason and you remain unsigned, it's kind of a bad sign as to where the NFL views you. And so Jack, I think, has a lot harder of a road than Cunningham, mainly because Cunningham was more of an injury-prone guy who has shown a lot recently versus a Myles Jack who hasn't really done a lot so far. So we'll see.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, it remains to be seen, but I think we're with the same sentiment. It's like you mentioned there. It's one thing when you have some injuries, like and you mentioned earlier, but with the Rashad Penny situation, I mean, we're hoping a lot, but some guys are just injury prone. I mean, it's unlucky and unfortunate, but when they're on the field, they can produce a lot, and so I feel like that's kind of Zach Cunningham. But whereas Myles Jack, the numbers don't really favor him there, but we've seen guys kind of have a resurgence in their career. You get to a different scenery, different defense. Obviously, a D line like this helps any linebacker. So maybe, I mean, I still not say that it's impossible, but I would definitely lean towards Cunningham.
Yeah, as we're obviously waiting to see if we get any sort of footage. The only stuff I can find on YouTube right now are 2 random channels who are live right now from the stands. And I don't know if we're going to go to that in terms of looking at it. I mean, I'm looking at this guy named Epic
Not
Jake.
maybe the official Eagles.
Yeah, it's not the
stream.
official Eagles feed right now. And so while it seems like the link is pretty full, the Eagles themselves have not given a feed in terms of the live practice, which is interesting because they were live last year at this exact time to give you a showcase of what was happening inside Lincoln Financial Field. So unsure if we're going to go ahead and get that, but obviously take a lot of y'all's questions and have some fun here. Spilly Sports Wrap says, is this a make or break year for Tyree Jackson? I think so. I mean, again, talking about a guy with all the talent in the world, just can't stay healthy. I mean, the lower back was a serious thing where he wasn't able to do anything, and yet when on the football field and healthy, the guy's 6'7", 6'5".
He's a
massive.
beast.
He's huge. I mean, you think all these massive tight ends who played basketball at one point, Antonio Gates, Antonio Gonzalez, these guys are absolutely huge. I think another person, 100%, who could be a big preseason, name to watch going into the Baltimore Ravens game is Tyree Jackson, who is finally healthy. So he has a
Yep.
chance. But you do have Stoll, you have Calcaterra, you got not Zach Ertz, sorry, you have Dallas Goedert, you got some names. You don't keep that many tight ends on the active roster. 3 is the
Right.
maximum that you would do. You would never keep 4. So, we'll
Yes,
see.
yep. And you signed Dan Arnold. I mean, let's not forget that's another signee
Yes.
there, and he's I think that, from what I've heard or seen, I mean, it's not as proven, I guess, in terms of the running blocking ability, but as far as the pass catcher, I mean, he's definitely a name up there. He's had a pretty good camp. A
Yeah.
little quieter, though. I don't think I've seen his name near as much as some of the others. But I mean, yeah, you mentioned there, like Tyree Jackson. I think all of us would love to see something like that, and he's made a couple impressive plays from camp or what we've heard. I mean, his leaping ability, the size, it's virtually unguardable. Like if Jalen puts the ball up there in those certain positions, or Marcus Mariota or Tanner McKee, yes, the mismatch is there. I think, like you said, though, it's a lot of questions for these guys, and a lot of times I feel like it's that high risk or that low risk, high reward with a
Yeah.
position player of like, okay, you know what? If he could stay healthy, I think that he can impact a lot. And there's lots of guys on this team that are that way. So that's what I'm excited to see. We're probably not going to tell a whole lot from this open practice. Hopefully, we do get some live footage. Now, one guy that I'm curious, just if we do get to see a little bit tonight, is Josh Jobe, because I know the cornerback battle, the room is very deep, and there's going to be names that are cut that won't surprise me at all if, as soon as they're cut, teams are picking it up, because we have a lot of talent in that position. But I'm curious to see it because Josh Jobe has been apparently playing well. I wouldn't say locking up Devontae Smith, but doing well against
Right.
Devontae Smith, which is enough, more than enough, probably. But playing in absence of James Bradbury, who's been banged up. I don't know if he's going to go tonight. I would assume that they
I don't
just
think
be
so.
precautious and say, nah,
Yeah.
let's keep him off. But it's good reps for him, and it seems like he's made enough of an impression where I would say if you're going to keep, 6 corners on the roster, I think he's a for sure lock. But I don't know. That's one name out there that I would keep an eye on. How about you, though? Is there a specific matchup or group or just a player, I guess, that you want to keep an eye on?
Well, not just tonight, but I think really the preseason game on Saturday, which again we'll be live for right here on both of our channels. Trey Sermon. Well, we hear every single offseason,
Yeah,
it feels
yeah.
like, at least the last 2 years. Trey Sermon this, Trey Sermon that. Not the offseason, but of course when they brought Trey Sermon in last season. He's great. He looks fantastic. Nick Sirianni mentions him like once a press conference, and then he doesn't do anything.
At
He's never
least.
dressed. I mean, it's ridiculous. So,
Yeah.
okay, is he that good? Then that means he should play pretty well during the preseason. The Eagle backup offensive line is pretty good. It's not bad. I mean, I think it could outrank some of the worst offensive lines in the National Football League. Had to give it a chance. So let's see what Trey Sermon is able to do, which hopefully can highlight Tanner McKee having a running game, and then we mentioned some decent wide receivers on the outside catching the passes and catching the football as well. So other names to definitely keep an eye on. I would definitely be looking out for Trey Sermon tonight. Not only tonight, but obviously in the Saturday preseason game against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, what's interesting again is that we don't have live footage from the Philadelphia Eagles, which I thought that we would. I mean, it's kind of crazy that they're not going to give us any
It's
sort of.
the norm, but
Yeah, it's the norm, but they obviously, I mean, they don't have to. So we'll
are
see
they
about
just
that.
delayed maybe, or they're just hanging on from the press conference with Sirianni? I don't know what the situation is
I've
there.
pulled up a couple of streams. This guy Epic Jake is giving us a look, but I mean, if people want to see what we're looking at here, it's not like it's a very clear picture, right? This is kind of all we have
He's not on the
here.
Eagles staff. They're just
He's not on
placing
the
him in
Eagles
there.
staff, and it's very blurry. So that's about all you got from the Eagles live practice. Shout out to Epic Jake there on YouTube for at least giving us some footage. It looks like they haven't really started playing though, or practicing. They're just kind of
Okay,
out
yeah.
there either warming up or running on the field and doing their thing. So we'll keep an eye on that and make sure that obviously if something were to give us a stream like the official Philadelphia Eagles count, then we can throw that up and be able to react to that and see if something were to happen. But my guess is
Yep.
for a 7 o'clock start, which is what it is, bunch of tickets, 1,000 tickets being sold. We don't have it right now, then, it is what it is. We do want to mention, obviously, any super chat that does get dropped on any of our live shows, including tonight, get you entered into our ticket giveaway, and the dollar amount matches the entry amount. So if you do 10, you get 10 entries. You 2 entries, and so on and so forth. And obviously, these tickets are for you and one lucky person with you to go to any Eagle game you choose during the regular season. You think about someone like, let me get it up on the screen here if I can. There it is. How about Flippin' the Bird? 85 giving us his take. He says $10 super chat with 10 entries. Thoughts on trading for either Jeremy Chin or Antoine Winfield? Also, does the super chat enter me into the contest to go to the game this season with you guys? Yes, it does. 100%.
Absolutely.
There you go. You got 10 entries. And it's not just a game we're going to. You could pick the game we're going to, but you can pick any game you want. So if you don't want to go, we're going to the Dallas Cowboy game in Dallas because Josh, I'm from Texas. Josh lives in Dallas. Easy for us to do. But if you don't want to fly all the way down there because we're just doing tickets and nothing else with that, then, there's a chance that you can pick a different one. So up to you. Sam's likes games, 2 entries. Now is a Hall of Famer. Luck certainly isn't. I saw these comments earlier talking about Andrew Luck being eligible for the Hall of Fame next year. Luck's not a Hall of Famer. There's no way Andrew Luck's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
Great
that's
player, but no, not a chance. You can't retire early and not have
little
won a
bit of
Super Bowl.
stretch.
Yeah, not going to happen. Dontel Dragon, obviously the winner of one of our jerseys this past week.
What's up?
Says, what up, fellas? Fly, Eagles, fly. 2 entries. He wants to win those tickets as well. Donatello, what's up, man? We appreciate you obviously
Absolutely.
entering last week and then winning the tickets as well. But fun to see a couple of our normal people hanging out on a Sunday. We normally are live Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for our Wednesday Link Live. And then obviously going forward every single game as well. And we got a lot of fun stuff planned for all of those games. I think it's going to be quite the season here on both the Thomas Mott Show and the Philly Special Show as well. So
Oh,
keeping an
hey,
eye.
I was looking at Twitter, so maybe I'm holding out hope that we're gonna get the stream because it looks like they haven't started. It looks like they're still going through some like stretching and warm up and stuff like that from Jeff Kerr. Although it's noteworthy to point out that Myles Jack and Zach Cunningham are both there. They're in Eagles jerseys. They're not going to practice, but they're in the Eagles jersey on the sideline. So that's kind of cool. Chris Franklin of NJ.com looks like he's the one who had the video first. But all right, they're there. They're in the uniforms. They're already on the field. I love to see it. I'm telling you, man. You see both of them in that Eagles gear.
You called it. Here's a look inside of the 50,000 plus people you see up on your screen. This is my Twitter feed. This is Fran Duffy, apparently from the press box. But you're basically filling out the entire lower bowl right now when it comes to Lincoln Financial Field. It shows you the hype around this football team, which was expected. But you can go back to, practices of old that were open to the public, and not all of them had 50,000 people there, Josh. I mean, this is quite the showing here that we are seeing. And you do make a good point. We are hoping to get live footage, and they normally won't go live on the Eagles channel until they actually start practicing and have something else to look at and talk about. So you see a little bit here of people stretching, warming up. Practices do take a while of just that you don't pull your hamstring or, have some sort of issues there. So we're hoping to have that a little bit later for you guys and hanging out and waiting with you until that were to happen. But good note there, showcasing the 2 newest Eagles are actually on the football field and actually out there right now, which is pretty fun to think about in terms of, they were signed a couple of hours ago, and then now they remain part of the Philadelphia Eagles and are actually there in person. So that's pretty fun. Quickly, Josh, what do you think of this picture? I don't know if you can see it on your screen. Is this Carson Wentz practicing in Colts shorts, Commanders practice jersey, and an Eagles helmet? It is. What do you think of this picture, huh?
I don't know what that is. That is like a wake up. Don't care what you're wearing, what you're putting on. I gotta go get a workout in and just grab whatever. Although it seems like this was completely intentional because you don't just grab those. So I don't know what kind of statement he's necessarily trying to make with that because it's the gear of all the other teams that he's played with. It looks totally out of place. I mean, I don't know. Like if you're trying to, it shouldn't hurt his stock in any way, I guess. But like it just looks so ragtag. Like you just throw everything together. So I don't know. It apparently, who was it? There was one team specifically, I'm trying to recall now, who was actually interested in him or saying, taking a look perhaps. Gosh, where was that tweet? There was one team that actually suggested they had some interest in him. It wouldn't surprise me if they went there. I'm gonna have to find it now.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with him, wearing the stuff, but it's pretty funny to see it out there as well. Here's a John Clark tweet showcasing, obviously, Jeffrey Lurie hugs for all the running backs out there. You notice they're still wearing those little practice helmets. Those have to be worn, I believe, up until the first preseason game, and those are obviously to hopefully minimize concussions. But if you're going to be taking hits like linebacker or obviously like running back, you got to be rocking them out there. If you see Penny, he's suited up, he looks good to go, and Swift as well as Gainwell, the rest of the running backs are in there as well as we try to wait for hopefully some live footage and live coverage actual from inside Lincoln Financial Field, which we have not gotten yet, but we are getting you little looks as we can with the hopes that they're going to go live here and give us a feed in just a little bit. But they are warming up out there and getting ready, and it's fun to see some stuff like this, obviously, on our screen.
It looks like Zach Cunningham, by the way, too, is number 46, at least as of right now, the jersey that he has on, and I believe Myles Jack 47. So, for what that's worth, it could possibly change, I guess, but the earliest or quickest ones they were to get it, you got 46 for Zach Cunningham and 47 for Myles Jack.
That's there. People were wondering the numbers. We also have an update on Nakobe Dean. Elliott Shore Park showcasing here. He is not practicing today. Elliott Shore says that's not good, which is interesting. It's not like it's the end of the world, but from what was a minor ankle injury, a day-to-day sort of thing, has kept him out of practice seemingly almost the entire week. So, is what it is. But for those of you wondering if you're going to see Nakobe Dean out there, I'm sure he is somewhere inside the building. He does not have his pads or helmet. He will not be practicing with Philadelphia and will not be out there during the live practice.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
keep looking for some more updates here and some more, hopeful sort of video. We got another one here inside the link, as I'll throw this up right there. Here's Tim McManus with 50,000+ fans showcasing what's going on right here as everyone's getting ready to go. Look at that. I mean, it's just unbelievable how packed this place is. And a lot of Kelly Green. If you're in Philadelphia, you go to those team stores. The team stores still have them. Not the online places, not as lucky. Not as lucky right now, but some looks inside Lincoln Financial Field right now as we get ready for them to actually start practicing and hopefully actually give us a feed as well, because that was the thought process, obviously, behind this one going forward. All right, let's go ahead. Oh, here, wait, Josh, look at this. We have a picture of Myles Jack and Zach Cunningham on the field. There you go. There they are in the flesh, and you're right, 46 and 47 as they got their jerseys on, but obviously they are not practicing tonight, so keep an eye on this. Josh Andrews, as Josh Fever says, who is Josh Andrews? Jeff Kerr with some decent posts. I can look at Jeff Kerr's Twitter feed here as well if we want to. But for those of the people just joining, those linebackers newly signed by Philadelphia, they are at Lincoln Financial Field, but they are not going to be practicing tonight, obviously, because they were signed mere hours ago. So no update in terms of that as well. We do have a Nick Sirianni tweet showcasing what's going on with the linebackers. A little low in the number of guys at the position. Praise each of the linebackers still on the team. So you think here potentially with Nakobe Dean's injury might be a little more long-term. And if Nakobe Dean's is a longer-term injury, say a couple of preseason games, you do need a body in there who, of course, is going to fill in and make things work out pretty well. Because if you cut Davion Taylor and you don't have Nakobe Dean, you're down 2 linebackers. They assigned 2 linebackers, so you at least have camp bodies, right? You don't actually know if they're for sure going to make the roster. But in terms of having actual bodies, now they do.
Right. And it's interesting too, because I mean, I heard there's a little bit of maybe, I don't know, argument or just the case to be made of like, okay, did the injury to Nakobe kind of spur this on, or was Howie going to, speed this process up? I mean, possibly, but I can't imagine that Howie was already going in this going like, oh, well, hopefully we stay healthy. I mean, because he's planning 5 steps ahead of everything else. So I think it was more of just justified of, hey, you know what? Nakobe happened to get injured, but there's most likely he was already, as we had mentioned, going into camp. We're going to look at that linebacker room, and very quickly, as soon as we figure out or think maybe we need some more competition, we're going to make a move. So I think it was really predicated based on the fact that the team need, rather than, oh gosh, what are we going to do in an injury position? Because as we know, you at any point in time, it's like all of a sudden, oh gosh, okay, now we need some depth here. And they obviously didn't feel like they had it because you signed 2 veteran linebackers in that situation. So kind of speaks for itself with what they did there.
You see them up here on your screen right now. They're just observing, obviously, 46 and 47.
There you go.
My guess is they have an off day tomorrow from practice, and then they're going to get those guys up to speed as quickly as possible. You'll see them out there for Tuesday's practice, though. They will 100% be out there. They'll probably start off with the 3rd team and the 2nd team, respectively, and then that'll be the real question is, by the time you get to Saturday's first game against the Baltimore Ravens, where are they actually going to be, right? Are they actually going to be, with the 2nd team? Are they going to be with the 3rd team? You would assume that you would start the people who are already in-house in Nicholas Morrow and Christian Ellis if Nakobe Dean can't go, but it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to go ahead and do. I like what Wojo Sports just said. He said, I'm excited about Nolan Smith and Joseph Ngata, both standouts in camp. I would say those 2 are probably the 2 biggest standouts so far, Josh, of camp that aren't starters, right? It's got to be Smith and Ngata if you want one offensive player, one defensive player, right?
I would think so. There's no argument for me there. I mean, there's some other names I guess you could possibly throw out there, but it's not. I don't know. It's like if you say, "Hey, Smitty's had a great camp," like that. That's not a stand. I mean, it is.
Shocker.
But we expect that from him. So I would agree with that. I think from everything that we've seen or heard, and same thing could be said. I know it's like a newer acquisition, but with DeAndre Swift, Agent Zero, everyone's, oh my gosh, he's a crazy pass catcher, the playmaker ability he has. But again, that's kind of expected there. So no issues with me there. I mean, you know how I feel about Nolan Smith. Anytime he's put in that situation, absolutely, I'm all for it.
I was told that I missed a super chat. Let me make sure that I did not here. I think I missed it. Yeah, let's throw this one up on the screen right now. Josh Hart, 2 entries into our ticket giveaway. Eagle stream starts in a minute. Now, that was a little while ago, so we'll see if he's correct, but maybe it will start
I
in a
hope so.
minute, and that would be nice. But so far, it has not. We try and check out here. And obviously, Josh, you're now entered in at least twice. I don't know if you've done it anymore, but at least twice into our ticket giveaway. Anyone who's watching the stream for the very first time, Josh and I are giving away 2 tickets to the Eagles game of your choice during the regular season. Drop one super chat between now and the end of the the final preseason game, and I'll be obviously be subbed to both of our channels, and you're going to be entered in. We're going to draw it live during the final preseason game, and the winner will get to pick which 2 tickets they want to go to. I've been told I missed another super chat, so I got to find out which ones I missed here. I believe flipping the bird. I believe it was this one, right? I think it's this one, as I'm trying to get it up on the screen right now. There you go. I think I missed this one. Trade came on Wallace in a third for Antoine Winfield. I mean, I wouldn't hate it, but I think I can actually do it. Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah, I mean,
it
listen,
wouldn't be bad though. But
sure, another camp standout is Kayvon Wallace, and you talk about the Davion Taylor getting cut. Here's Kayvon Wallace, and what's a very similar year to what Taylor was going through, needing to make the roster, needing to actually perform. Wallace is doing that, while Taylor seemingly was unable to. So, I don't know. I don't think we would do this, but was it actually possible? Not necessarily likely, is what I would say. But 5 entries into the ticket giveaway, and so you, boom, are entered in, which was probably your whole goal. So you're good to go there. Cool. All right, let's see if we get any more updates on the Eagles live practice. So far, that has not been the case. Nick Sirianni met with the media a little while ago, but since then has gone out onto the football field, and we haven't really seen anything else. Jalen Hurts has taken the field, as you see up on your screen right here, much to the standing ovation of 50,000 people inside Lincoln Financial Field, which is pretty crazy here. There he is.
Looks like it's just rocking. That's incredible.
Yeah, all the lucky people that get to live in South Philadelphia can just kind of drive over to this. I think it was $10 to enter. It's pretty cheap. It wasn't anything crazy, and you get to go have a fun Sunday night watching the Birds practice, which you and I would definitely do if we both lived in Philadelphia.
Absolutely.
So what are you gonna do? But
and I believe it's what all proceeds benefit the Eagles Autism Foundation too. Yep. I mean, so it's a win-win-win. It's for everybody. That's awesome.
There you go. Jalen Hurts out on the football field as they're starting to kind of throw and warm up and get ready to go. We're going to go back to the comment section here in just 1 second, make sure everyone is getting their questions answered. I think a lot of people are kind of waiting for some actual practice footage, which we do not have yet, but it's going to be interesting. You know what? Why don't we throw up this tweet here from Word on the Birds, giving you a little look at Zach Cunningham this past season with the Tennessee Titans. We'll throw up some Zach Cunningham highlights on your screen here. Well, a name you're not really going to recognize that often because obviously you don't watch a lot of Tennessee Titans games. But when healthy, looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Quick, tall, physical. He'd be a very good match, as Josh said, for Nakobe Dean on one side. Dean being a little bit smaller, but still very quick as well. You have the speed and you have the size there if you wanted to have 2 linebackers on the football field at any given time, as we see the highlights rolling across your screen.
I love that. Yep. There's and even on, I mean, you kind of mentioned there too, but his production on the field, I mean, very, very serviceable the last couple of seasons. It's just if he can stay healthy versus the other counter argument to that, which we've mentioned a couple of times, but it's, Myles Jack, can he find something else? Because it's been a little bit of a decline. So, it seems a little less likely. And I just question too, I mean, sometimes you hear about injuries or possible lingering injuries or just something that's not right. And before Myles Jack was even drafted, I mean, wasn't there the whole potential knee issues that he was going to suffer, or the doctors that are saying I don't know how long that he's going to be able to last? And who knows if that's actually something that's leading to it, but it's always a question that you want to see is, okay, is there something to that? Or did someone just make something out of thin air and, try to throw teams off the scent? But there's something with this recent decline. It's not like he's crazy old either, right? I mean, what is he? He's like 20.
He's not that
28?
Old. No. Yeah, he is definitely not that old.
Yeah, he's like 27, 28. Yeah.
Yep. So definitely has the age working out pretty well. I mentioned somebody in the chat mentioned that Cool Cat Connor has some live video inside the link there. That is true, but it looks like this. So if you're wondering, it is extremely blurry, and you cannot tell what is going on inside the link. So I know we got over 800 people watching right now, but the footage that we're getting from inside the link it's not great. Let's just say that, and we're waiting to see if we get some better stuff here.
Yeah, from what I can see there, that looks like a little Madden 97 action there. That's
there you go. Yeah,
I can see just enough to try to make something out, but good luck trying to broadcast or to actually give any analysis on it.
Yeah, obviously last year they did go live and they did have actual footage from inside the link. You see Kenny Gainwell pumping the crowd up, getting ready there. What do you think of Gainwell in terms of numbers this year? Are you of the belief that DeAndre Swift, even though they say it's running back by committee and we're not going to, go ahead and commit to any running back here or there, do you buy the idea that Swift just takes all the carries or the majority of carries? Let's say 70% carries for Swift. Do you think Gainwell eats the rest of those? How do you see the running back mixture going on when we get started with this season?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think it's anywhere close to that for Swift. I think it's a lot more balanced. I think that there's going to be a lot of situations where Swift gets catches and the receptions that he has at the end of the year. I, I really think it's not even going to be close in terms of that category. But for the
Yeah,
carries, I mean, I know it's just camp and you take it with a grain of salt with especially the numbers and the tallies. And if you did that, you'd say, like we talked about, Trey Sermon is going to be a Pro Bowler. But
yeah,
there's still some sort of element with play calling there. And it's just interesting that one of the guys with the fewest amount of carries so far in camp is Swift. And so I
yeah.
do think that he's going to get handed the ball quite a bit. But you've also got guys that obviously, if they stay healthy, you've got a Rashad Penny, who I think is going to be phenomenal. Hopefully, he gets down to 225. I mean, he already looks lighter. I think he's at 230 now. He said his plans are to get to 225 at his college weight, and hopefully that helps with the durability. I see no reason why that wouldn't. I mean, it just seems to suggest if you're lighter on the knees, he said they feel a lot better now. So I think there's going to be a lot of carries there. I think Kenny G as well, Boston Scott, as we know, especially against the Giants, that's almost a given. But I don't know. I feel like it's going to be more of I don't even know if you'd say at the end of the season that Swift has 50% of the carries. Really, I would see it more of just a lot of rotation there is in
Yeah.
terms of handing the ball off. But the catches, yeah, that's where I'd go. I mean, I think he could get 50, 60 catches. That wouldn't surprise me at all if Swift has that by the end of the season. And that may be crazy because people say, hey, we got a lot of weapons, but we've been hearing reports of the screen game being very active. There's a reason probably that Cam Jurgens is going to be. It would shock me if he's not the starting right guard. Seems very solidified there. But with the way that he can move in space, it only makes it that much better for the screen game. So I don't know. To me, it makes a whole lot of sense. But carries wise, yeah, I'd say I think if you can almost get like almost a third between Kenny G, between Swift, between Penny, that to me would be great. You keep every back fresh. And
Hmm.
personally, I would say let's wait and have Rashad at the very end of the game because he's just a bruiser, man. Like if I'm a defense that's gassed, that's the last guy that I want to see on the field of the Eagles trying to close it out. Like he's just going to march right through the defense. So that would be my preference, but we'll see how they end up running it.
I think it makes perfect sense. I honestly would agree with everything that you said there. And Penny being a finisher, very similar to what they did with Jay Ajayi and LeGarrette Blount. This roster is built from a running back perspective, literally just like the 2017 team where they could mix you up with Corey Clement out of the backfield. They could pound it with
Mhm.
Blunt. They could give you, a really quick burst with Jay Ajayi. They had a bunch of good running backs on that roster, and seemingly they're going to try to do that there tonight. You see Jeffrey Lurie actually talking to DeAndre Swift via Jeff Kerr of CBS Sports on the sideline here, having a bunch of fun. To 50+ thousand people in the crowd at Lincoln Financial Field, getting ready for this open practice. We just hit 7:30 on the East Coast. You guys have not thumbs up the video yet. We need a bunch more. We're only at 146 likes. Give the show a thumbs up as we try and get you guys as hopefully a live look in. My thought process, Josh, is that maybe 7:30 is when we get a stream going from the Eagles themselves. And if that's the case, we get some practice footage because it took about 30 minutes to warm up, and they're almost done doing that based on everything that I've been watching so far, both on Twitter and by a couple of these very blurry open practice streams that are happening for people inside the Nova or Lincoln Financial Field right now. So maybe 7:30, aka right now, is kind of the lucky time when we're going to go ahead and get people maybe giving us some live practice footage. But again, there's no guarantee because the Eagles themselves have not said as much if they're going to give us anything live or not.
Yep, and we just remain hopeful. But come on, are they going to do this to us? Like, there's so much hype already. They did it last year where it was a live stream. I'm holding out hope, but as obviously the longer it goes without, then there's like, okay, are we going to get it at some point? But still, also as you mentioned there, like on Twitter, it looks like they're still going through the drills, so that
Yeah.
leads me to hope that we're going to just at any point in time now we're going to get the live stream and we'll be good to go.
And remember, not every practice that they do is 11 on 11s or 7 on 7s. This is basically what you're seeing. You see DeAndre Swift getting some carries from Marcus Mariota. They warm up and they go through some individual stuff normally to start off a practice at the NovaCare complex. They get done with that. Then you might see some actual one-on-one opportunities in, say, offense versus defense, corner versus wide receiver, linebacker versus running back, so on and so forth, defensive tackle versus offensive lineman. But then you get to the 11-on-11 stuff. And so while the practice started at 7 p.m., the practice normally goes for about an hour and a half, maybe an hour 45 if they want to stretch it. Your 11-on-11 stuff comes towards the end, meaning maybe if they're going to stream that, we'll get that a little bit later on. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Unspoken Word says, where are you watching from? I'm in Atlanta. Josh is in Dallas. Where's everybody watching from right now? Let us know down below in the comments section. G Money says, can you watch this on TV? Not that we know of. We're trying to have that for you guys, but there is no such thing as a live stream right now happening.
Which I'm just shocked, honestly.
I'm
like
surprised
I felt like, and EJ Smith just said first 3 plays of team today: completion to AJ Brown, completion to Devontae Smith, completion to Dallas Goedert. So I'm hopeful that that's not a sign of we're not going to get anything. But if they're getting the first team plays now, I don't know.
Sign. Not a good sign. It's pretty wild. It is pretty wild. But there's Jalen Hurts warming up a little bit more here from Jeff Kerr, getting ready for this first open practice.
We need this, right? Like they don't have, open to the practice sessions. Now, obviously, if you're there, yes, it's great. But like, we all need this. Come on, this needs to be broadcast. I'm still remaining hopeful because it seems like almost every NFL team has this open where it's unbelievable. You can get the unlimited content that you want. But as you and I know, it's like every single practice we're texting each other and going, are there any videos? Like, is there anything that we can see? Because we're just starved for it. So this would be the one time. I mean, come on, Eagles account. It's maybe they're just running behind, just get this thing up. But I'm still not seeing it. I'm refreshing like nonstop. I'm on YouTube here, seeing if it's going to go live, or even on Twitter here.
Yeah, you think about 50,000 people inside the stadium or bought tickets to watch this thing. How many people outside who don't live in Philadelphia want to go ahead and keep an eye on this and watch a live practice? So, what are you going to do?
Give me the link. I'll pay $10 to get the live stream.
I
like somebody just give it here.
I 100% would do that as well. 100% would do that as well. But what are you going to do? Let's see if we got any comments here as I try and work around to get some more footage up on the up on Twitter, at least, because we're getting a bunch of video footage popping in and out. It's not necessarily live, but it's as close to you can actually get to any sort of live thing happening with the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll go to some comments here in just 1 second as I try and pull some stuff up here. A lot of people in that house. I mean, I just keep seeing all these videos. It's just crazy how crowded the link is right now. It's fun to watch, and it's fun to realize the hype that's happening around the Eagles right now, especially going into this year. Someone watching from the UK in Jack Hamlin. I guess he's either early morning. It's got to be early morning in the UK. NBC Sports Network needs to put this live. They do, but they haven't. They have not put it live yet. We're checking. Someone on YouTube is live streaming, and Mariota almost got destroyed. Okay, I've checked on that one, but it's a little bit
I can hardly
laggy.
see what's going on.
Yeah, I'm surprised that you can tell that Marcus Mariota got destroyed in that, because it is really bad. And obviously with 50,000 people all trying to stream and all trying to showcase it at one time, it gets a little rough here. Let's see. I wonder if I can find that stream again. I don't remember the name of the person that had that, but I don't see it here. Oh, there it is. All right, yeah, you do have some very blurry 11-on-11 stuff, Josh. If you wanted to actually look at it, this is what it looks like as I try and pull it up on the screen here. It's really blurry. It is Mariota at quarterback. Yeah, this is just somebody watching practice. Ooh, he's gonna run with the football there. Yeah, it's
blurry. At least something, but
jeez.
I guess if that's all we got, we can make do with it. I suppose it's better than nothing. But I really was shocked. I was thinking this is gonna be. Wow, he really held on to it for a while there. Okay.
Yeah, he did. He did find Alontae Zaccheaus in the end zone for a touchdown. Someone who's not got a ton of love for, from some beat writers, I'd say. They say he looks good. They say he looks, okay. But I don't think he's had a crazy good camp. But Quez Watkins, on the other hand, is getting a lot of love. And so, you kind of do what you do with that. Doesn't mean that Alontae is not playing well. But Alontae and Quez are two players probably who will start on Saturday for Philadelphia. My guess is the starters will not play. And they're AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is probably not going to be out there. But you would think to see Alontae Zaccheaus and Quez Watkins for maybe a couple of drives, and then they bring in the rest of these undrafted free agent people and stuff like that. So we will see on that one. As No Fly Zone Gang says, why aren't the Eagles streaming this? Great question. That is the question that everybody is wondering right now because, geez, that is as blurry as it gets, and we'll come back to that in a second. But my goodness, it is blurry. It does seem, though, if they were going to stream it, they would have gone live now and started streaming it. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
let's
by
just
now,
be real
surely.
here. Yeah, it would have probably happened by this point, but not been the case
Yeah,
yet.
because I don't know why they're not going to wait for another 20 minutes or so and be like, oh hey, we're going to go live at 8 p.m. Like
Hmm.
I'm shocked though because it was last year and I don't know with all these acquisitions, with all the hype and everything else around the team, like just felt like it was going to be a given.
As you see, again,
Once
this
again,
is the best that you get is someone filming from a potato somewhere in the 100 section. It's kind of what you get. Try and make that out. It's tough. It's very
I
tough.
mean, beggars can't be choosers, I suppose. So
I
like
guess.
if that's all we got,
Yeah.
you want to give me your analysis on how whoever that was looks. I don't know who that is, but you want to give me your analysis. What do you make of it?
Not. It's not possible. It's not possible. No, that is not
Oh my
possible
god.
to give you analysis on that one. Yeah. Oh man. All right. Well, we'll obviously stay live and hang out with you guys here for a little while longer and see what happens, as we got a lot of people watching live right now, and so trying to make sure that we give you as much live practice footage as possible. But at the moment, that does not seem to be the case. Although I will check one other place to see if I can find something. Let's see if we can get lucky here. Does not appear so. Nope. Nope, not there either. Nope, I tried everywhere to find a stream of this. Jeez, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that we don't have any sort of live footage here.
That is shocking. Apparently, Mariota just scored another touchdown, so he's having a good
There you
live
go.
practice. He got pressure, pump fake, stepped out, rolled to his left, and found Penny for the touchdown from
There
about
you
5 yards out.
There you go. You gotta like that. It's
Love to hear it.
at least something.
Would
And
love to see it.
people did mention that obviously Philadelphia does have some money invested in Marcus Mariota, and that is true. They probably won't cut him, but if Tanner McKee does what Tanner McKee does and plays a little, plays good like he did this past couple of days, maybe there's something to it. This is what we were talking about and what we were hoping to see is something like this. This is not live. This is from the Eagles YouTube channel from last season, and it's just strange that they did not want to go ahead and give us this sort of coverage this season for whatever reason. So, yeah, it's like
Yeah,
Rob
right.
just said.
Exactly. That's what we want. That's what we need.
Yeah, we were hoping for something like this. Rob said it's madness that this isn't officially live streamed. I totally agree. The Eagles probably think if they live stream it, less people would show up. But you're all right. We'll be ponying up $10 to live stream it. Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. I
Yeah,
think
maybe
they've
so.
definitely failed us here, as this obviously is older practice footage and not anything new. So it doesn't seem like we're gonna go ahead and get the live footage, which is just crazy. But it is what it is. It absolutely is what it is.
I would gladly pay though. It's yeah, everyone would gladly do it, but for some reason they felt like they shouldn't do it. Maybe I don't know. It still blows my mind.
We had connections
Oh,
inside
hey,
the.
that's interesting. Looks like sorry, EJ Smith says looks like Christian Ellis has the green dot today with Nakobe Dean sidelined. I mean, you're gonna have
Really?
someone there, but still, it's another just point proven. We were talking about earlier, Nicholas Morrow, Christian Ellis. That solidifies if you want anything else where he is ranked above Nicholas Morrow. Now, granted, we got the Myles Jack, you got the Zach Cunningham signing, so the camp battle is full on, but they think at least highly enough to say you're surpassing a guy who led the Bears in tackles. Now the Bears defense was what it was last year, but still, I think that's noteworthy that he's wearing the green dot.
No, it's a very good point. It's a very good point that if it wasn't the case where they thought he was the true number 2 linebacker right now, they wouldn't give him the green dot tonight, right? You would think Morrow would
Yep.
have that ability because he at least called plays for the Bear defense this past season. So very interesting point there when talking about Christian Ellis. So maybe he is playing as good as the hype has been there. I continue to kind of wonder and look at and hope that we get some more hype, but so far he does have the green dot on tonight and is starting at middle linebacker for the Philadelphia Eagles with the continued realization that Dean will take that back over as soon as he gets back and healthy. But at the same time, we didn't see him out there again. He's not out there right now, and I would tell you that the ankle is still not ready to go, and they're going to hold him out a little bit longer.
Yep. It looks like they got him and James Bradbury. They're just kind of being cautious with that's great. That's
Yep.
perfectly fine by me.
Yep, I'm totally fine with that too. It makes a ton of sense. make sure that they stay healthy. And you got Cunningham and Myles Jack on the sideline, and they're ready to go. They're going to be ready to go for the first practice, not today, but the first practice there on either I believe it'd be Tuesday, because I think that they're going to have tomorrow off because they've had 3 days of practice in a row. Is that correct? Normally they go one open to the public, one closed, one open. The open one obviously was Friday, closed was yesterday. Today is open. Tomorrow is going to go ahead and be closed. That would be my guess in terms of what the Eagles are planning on doing. Correct?
Yes, yep, you're right. I just pulled it up to verify, but I knew that tomorrow was off. But yeah, then they've got closed on Tuesday, and then open Wednesday and Thursday, and then closed on Friday, and then the preseason. Yep.
Okay, there you go. That makes a ton of sense. That makes
So
a
they're
ton
gonna
of
go four
sense.
straight before the preseason game. That's where you're gearing up. You got one last stretch of those 4 straight. You're gonna have the off day tomorrow, the 4 straight, and go right into it. So I'm interested to see how that pans out. You got a lot of guys vying for positions there, trying to get whether I guess it's backup jobs or staying on the roster or just kind of positional depth. But I still can't get over the fact that we're not going to get this live stream. We're going to have to just kind of sift through some amateur footage and some tweets, I guess. That's interesting. Okay, see, and we just missed, apparently, Jordan Davis bull rushed Cameron Tom and apparently destroyed him and won, which is not surprising for Jordan Davis, but we didn't get to see that because they're not giving us the stream.
Nope, they're not giving us the stream at all. Cheesesteak says, where did Cunningham play? Not familiar with him. He obviously was I believe he was a Texan and a Titan most recently at outside linebacker for the Titans, and he's still young. Josh talked about it. He's big, he's physical, he's tall. He's still under the age of 30, but injuries have kind of plagued him a little bit there, and he'll be a body that you mix in there, and you can kind of wait and see what happens.
Yep. I think he's going to be good. There's a point that was brought up on Twitter here. I can't remember who just said it or brought it up. I'm gonna have to try to find it again. But he has had a little bit worse tackling percentage, or his missed tackling percentage has slowly crept up. It's always weird though to see because he's been injured. So you could say like, yeah, his percentage is higher, but if he hasn't played as many snaps, then it's a smaller sample size. So I don't know. Maybe there's a little bit of a decline there, and obviously he took a while to get signed. So there's some skepticism maybe across the league, but I still love the signing. I think it adds the depth. You bring the veteran presence in. When he's healthy, he's looked good. I talked about him. It was April or May. I mean, I was talking about him back then. If you want to sign some depth, that would be the top guy. I didn't like as much of a Myles Jack, but now you got both of them. They can compete for a spot there. So I think it'll be good.
I think it makes some sense. We see someone saying, throw up that blurry video of the Eagles live practice. I mean, I can. It's not like I can. It's just, it's pretty blurry if you really want to look at it. There's a reason why there's only a couple people watching, because it looks like this. And this is, you tell me what's going on here, Josh. This is like, it feels like we're watching the moon landing back in 1969 with a little bit of color.
Did it happen?
It's a great question. Ask Goddard and A.J. Brown. They're unsure. They're definitely unsure.
We're not sure. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I think that this is legit here. I can commentate for you. I can tell you what's happening. So Marlon Tuipulotu apparently just terrorized Julian Good-Jones during one-on-ones, straight bull rush, and Good-Jones ended up on his back. So it's hard to tell from that stream there. I'm just take my word for it.
Yeah, right.
I'm reading tweets, and then you can look at the amateur footage there. That's apparently what just happened.
The amateur footage right there. Yeah, honestly, as we look at, for anyone who's in the building with a live stream, your other best option, which I guess is a little bit clearer if you call it that, is this. But it's vertical. So vertical killing us here with not a lot of info on what's happening from the vertical video. Yeah, brutal. Just absolutely brutal. But what are you going to do? They didn't want to live stream it for us, and that's their choice. So they didn't have to do it at all.
Still can't believe it. That just shocks me.
What do you got going on this week?
That stream there is at least clear. That's good. But it's back there where we can't see much, but it's clear.
It is clear. And I mean, listen, I can throw it up here. Shout out to, I believe, let me make sure I got this right. It is Epic Jake for the footage here of the live stream, but it's not exactly the clearest thing or not exactly the most fulfilling thing in the entire world, and you kind of have to wait there as as it's blurry. So
that is unfortunate. Hey, apparently Josh Sills is back at practice.
Yes, he is.
He's on the field there, so that's a name to obviously mention with him being found not guilty for the rape kidnapping case. So Interested to see if he makes the roster. There was the signing of Josh Andrews, like we talked about earlier, for some depth there. So we've got questions on where would he play? How do the Eagles feel about him in that situation? I mean, for him to remain in that on the roster, and then
Right.
obviously whenever this news broke, it seems to suggest that the team at least has thought about potential of keeping him there and
Yeah.
like what he might bring to the team. So I don't know. We'll see, but he's obviously there back in camp and looks like he's in uniform based on the tweet.
It seemed like Philadelphia did their due diligence there, and were expecting the outcome of that trial to be exactly what happened, right? If they didn't believe that, they would have let him go a long time ago. And to keep someone with those kind of accusations on the roster is always tough to do in today's climate. But the fact that they were doing it kind of shows you their trust and belief in again what was the eventual outcome. So he's back, like Josh said, at the practice facility. You should see him. He's either out there today or he's going to be out there. In a couple of days, because they have tomorrow off, so on Tuesday. But again, more depth, I would say, on the offensive line if you were to go ahead and need it, and depth that you could technically play at the center position if you were to
Yeah.
have an interesting situation where you didn't want to slide Juergens, who will start at right guard this year, barring some sort of crazy run by Tyler Steen, back over to center in the middle of the season if there were to be an injury. So I think, good for Philadelphia overall for trusting him and believing in him if that was what they did in terms of their due diligence, but also having an extra body there on the roster at a position that you're definitely going to need and want. So you like to see
Yep.
that as well.
He's decked out in gear next to Stoutland,
Okay.
working out with the group. So
Okay.
seems
There
to
you
be
go.
100% slide him right back in there and get going.
There you go. Awesome. Awesome. That makes sense there as we get a couple more updates here live happening from Eagles' first public practice at Lincoln Financial Field this season, and one that is obviously packed with people, just not packed with a live stream just yet. All right, see if we get
Yep.
more.
We're not going to see
Updates
it.
here. Yeah, I
That
don't
is
think.
a confirmation for sure. It's crazy though. I mean, look just on Twitter, the number of people you mentioned, the 50,000. There's pictures of the concession lines. I mean,
Oh my
it looks like
gosh,
a game. It's nuts.
gotta like that. Yeah, definitely. I mean, crazy. And we've seen video footage from previous open practices. Think about going back to the one just this last year. You see it on your screen right now. And yeah, sure, there were people at it, but it wasn't crazy packed. I mean, you look behind right there, the running back with Boston Scott. There was no one there this past season, and yet again, 1 year later, and everyone is super pumped. Obviously, with the New Jersey launch, people going and maybe stopping by the stadium to pick up a jersey as well, and also watching the game or the practice. Yeah, it's crazy how crowded and packed that is. Oblivion said they have camera crews there. It should be live streaming. I agree. The fact that they were unable to do it, I gotta just shoot an email to Dave Spadaro and see why they didn't do a live stream this year, because he was the one who was broadcasting on the Eagles' official YouTube and I believe their official website as well. Didn't do it, so it happens. It happens. All right, let's just keep an eye on that.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen. Looks like. I mean, there's still nothing live with great footage. It looks like King DV Sports though. It looks like he's at the link. He's streaming. It's not the worst quality. I think it's the best I've seen so far. Actually, I think someone mentioned that here in the comments earlier.
Is it and he's vertical though, right? This is him. I have it right here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You got that one. Yeah.
He's got it. He's
I mean,
got it.
shout out to him for at least it looks like the best that there
Yeah.
is so far. So what you can make of it, but he's recording a lot on the jumbotron or on the big screen there. So I mean that's kind of helpful because it at least makes it a little bit larger, because otherwise these other screens or views that we're getting is nothing. I'm still surprised. Just the Eagles could have made this so much better like they had last season.
Seen some punt return stuff there. That was Aaron Sipos punting
Okay.
to Britton Covey is what we were looking at live on the screen right now. So right now, apparently all reports are saying Sipos is leading that over Ty Zentner from the punter position, but that's going to be more of a practice, or I would say training, or what's a preseason game determination, right? Because you can punt long in practice when you know no one's going to hit you, but when it's live and people are trying to win jobs by coming around the edge and getting their punt blocked, that's going to be when Sipos and Zentner are really going to kind of go at it and have some fun there.
Yep. It's funny though because it usually all it takes is one practice, and then we immediately say, "Oh, he's gonna win," or "Oh, he's losing." It's we don't get a lot of looks at the punters, especially. So
Right.
you have to try to take as much with a grain of salt as possible. But I know that a lot of us are hoping for a potential change there. So I mean, I love to see it or hear it whenever the rook actually does some stuff. But I mean, this is a different environment. The thing that I guess, maybe the biggest immediate takeaway that I love, despite the fact that we can't actually see a lot of this action very well, is, I mean, let's face it, this is not a practice. Like, you could call it a practice, but I mean it in the sense of, this is big for a lot of rookies and for players that have not seen or experienced this
Mm.
environment yet. I mean, you got to practice and perform, but there's a ton of people here watching. So I love it because there's extra hype and extra just the atmosphere that you're playing with. So, if Sipas is playing a little bit better and Legatron's struggling, maybe, it's, oh my gosh, there's a lot of people here. So there's just that extra anxiousness or nerves. Because I mean, honestly, again, 50,000 people. I mean, that's good numbers for a preseason game. So you've already got that in the hype. It's I'd say better to get the nerves out of the way now rather than wait and do it in preseason or just wait until later. So I'm surprised there's that many people. I wish that they'd let us in and kind of partake as well if they'd give us the live stream. But
We are getting a look at first team offense right here versus first team defense. That was a Kenneth Gainwell stretch play. It was tackled by Christian Ellis, I believe, as they're working from their side of the 40-yard line, and Hurts and company are out there based on, again, watching the live stream here. Of somebody actually in the stadium. It looks like he got a nice pass to A.J. Brown. He picked up a bunch of yards there. So ones versus ones here, but obviously no hitting, no live hitting in their 11-on-11 opportunities. But good look here.
yes,
Jalen Hurts in a very comfortable pocket, finding A.J. Brown across the middle, who was the best slant receiver in the National Football League.
love to see that. The best connection there.
Smokey Bear says, I just got here. Give me the rundown of the two new linebacker signings. Very simple, right? We're talking about Zach Cunningham and Myles Jack, both of which come in to hopefully take maybe some not roster spots, but fill in the roster holes left by cutting Davion Taylor and Nakobe Dean still being out with an ankle injury. He's not playing tonight, not out on the field at all, excuse me. And so they come in as camp bodies with the potential opportunity to do something, right? I mean, right now it seems like Christian Ellis and Dean are your first 1 and 2 starting linebackers. Nicholas Morrow would be the next one up. Then where do Myles Jack and Zach Cunningham fit in there? I'm not sure, but I like what Cunningham brings from a size and really overall footage performance you can find on YouTube. Watching with the Tennessee Titans this past season, his problem has been more injury versus actual play on the football field, whereas Myles Jack seemingly, yes, he's been injured too, but has not performed as well, especially this past season whenever he was with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yep. And like you mentioned there, we've talked about it a little bit. I like both what they bring to the table and the fact that they're going to have the veteran presence. They've seen a lot of looks they can share with the guys because, again, I mean, there's a lot of excitement for Nakobe Dean as well, but it'll be curious to see like who wins out, if it's going to be Zach Cunningham, if it's going to be Myles Jack, or even if Christian Ellis keeps playing well because he's wearing the green dot tonight. He's been playing well in practice. He got another takeaway at the previous practice session with a forced fumble. So I think that's up to 4 or 5 takeaways that he has already, by far the most from what we've heard of reports. So there's a lot of potential there. But again, like we talked about, you got veterans in the room that even if they don't start, if they get the roster spot and they're there, or even if it's just one of them, a Zach Cunningham or Myles Jack, they can at least be that extra voice in the locker room to provide some extra experience or different looks and even film breakdowns with Nakobe and with Christian Ellis. So I love to see it. I don't think that you can have enough of that. We want the playmakers. You want depth for sure in a Sean Desai defense. So I'm curious to see how he might play them or if there's different looks. But again, the competition is always a good thing, and I'm curious to see how quickly they get caught up to speed, because you mentioned that earlier. Do we see them potentially, starting or even getting first team reps by the first practice? I feel like they'd be very quick. It may take a couple practices, but it'll remain to be seen. But once we get it, if all of a sudden, after the first practice, or even in the first practice, you hear, oh, hey, they got a couple reps at first team, that's probably the writing on the wall that we need, or the extra that we do to say, okay, they like Christian Ellis, but they're obviously not sold enough because they didn't even wait a full practice to say, hey, get in there and play first team reps. So we'll see.
Right.
We'll see how that turns out.
We saw Jalen Hurts again via the King TV Sports stream here that we're getting of Inside the Link, as blurry as it is.
Shout out to him it's the best we've got so far. So shout out to King
far.
TV.
Hurts rolled right. Couldn't tell who had the pressure on him there. Would have probably been a sack. Obviously, they're not.
I'm going to say it's
hitting each
Nolan
other.
because we can't see.
Sure,
I'm just going to say
sure.
it was Nolan Smith.
Mariota.
Although
in
Mariota's
first
back
team
there,
now.
so okay.
Looks like a pre-snap penalty here too. So they're gonna line it back up and figure it
Did
out.
you
I
tell
did
who was
see.
at center there?
I couldn't tell.
Okay, I was just
It's
curious
it's difficult.
if
I'm seeing the
Tough
back of some kid's head.
that's
So
true, yeah.
I did see a
Gotta
nice
try to
run
make
from
it real.
Rashad Penny. Penny was mixed in there. They gave a stretch play to Gainwell. They gave a run from the middle to Rashad Penny. That seemed like it would have gone for at least 10 yards until he would have been touched. So, again, not a lot to break down from that, but Penny looked pretty darn good in the one carry that we saw there. Now you're seeing
Mhm.
Mariota and Boston Scott are your two quarterback running back duo in the current second team offense that's on the field.
Yep, it looks like we got it some sort of pre-snap penalty, I assume. I'm just curious because if Brett Toth is still who is that? Is that 64? Was that I think
Right.
it was Brett I think it's Brett Toth. I think that's
I,
64. It's really hard to tell, but I think that is, and I'm just curious if that pre-snap was him because he's had a lot of those. Looks like a good snap there. All right.
There's Britton Covey across the
Good
middle
Covey.
from
Okay.
Marcus Mariota. Covey seemingly being the number 5 wide receiver as the
Mhm.
roster is currently constructed. He's kind of the first guy, or I should say the last guy, to be on the Eagles wide receiver depth chart.
And I believe, Covey said he's put on some weight, I think like 5 to 7 pounds this offseason, so said he's trying to get a little bit stronger. We'll see if he can actually get the roster spot, but obviously with his punt return abilities, I think it's very likely that he ends up getting that. But going back to Rashad Penny, you mentioned, I don't know if you saw this, but apparently with him, again, he was playing weight like 235, 237 in Seattle, and he's been
Right.
losing some weight. He's hoping to get down to 225. Most recently, he said he's at 230. But apparently that explosiveness and that speed is there and then some because he's been running away from the DBs in practice. There was a long run that he had a couple days ago where Sidney Brown and a couple of the other second team guys weren't even able to catch up to him, just burst out for a long run. I love to hear that because a guy coming off of so many injuries, but especially the most recent with a broken leg, it's not a given. I mean, he's proven it that he can always
Right.
seem to come back, but you still question, like, okay, does he lose a step? Is there some explosiveness that's not there? But from what we've heard in the very limited trying to decipher what we're seeing here, he looks good so far. So I'm excited to see that.
It's like Moro Ojomo is getting checked out by trainers. He got poked in the eye, and not necessarily anything serious there, but Ojomo not on the football field with the second or third team right now, according to some reports we're seeing on Twitter. Trey Sermon getting some
No good
carries
Trey
there.
Sermon.
We finally get to see
Not a
the
shock.
greatest fifth-string running back in the history of running backs. I mean, goodness gracious,
I'm telling you.
they talk a lot about how great he is, and yet we don't see a lot of footage. But now they're inside the red zone with the second-team offense versus the second-team defense, and Trey Sermon is the current running back.
That is interesting. I'm sure it's almost impossible to make out what's going here. I mean,
Well, that was DeAndre
you
Swift
can
right
see a little
there.
bit.
That was Swift to get that carry that didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, that
And it
last one
looked
didn't
like
go. Yeah,
a
it's
couple of
just
the.
it's
Go ahead. I was going to say a couple of the
uh,
starters mixed in there as well.
yeah,
Kayvon
yeah.
Wallace starting at safety on this drive, but it's the
It's
second
it's
team.
nice to zoom in there that we can see, so we get to see it kind of at that
Right.
point, yeah, but before that, it's like it's so hard to tell, especially because I think both of us or a lot of us were really excited to see is what are the D linemen doing? What are the O linemen
Mm-hmm.
doing?
Right.
That's like impossible. I mean, we can see it after the fact of kind of who had the ball or who the pass was to and things like that, but otherwise, there's just you're not getting enough to tell, "Oh, hey, did someone have good get off there? Did they have a good pass rush move?
Right.
Was that good?" Unless it's just an immediate sack, which I guess is a given, but
Greg Ward with the catch there on a little 10-yard out. A guy who, again, was a hero a couple of years ago with Carson Wentz and
he was.
has struggled to even make the Eagles roster. And funny to see his name mentioned as he's not been mentioned hardly at all so far during training camp and does seem to be one of the odd men out playing wide receiver for Philadelphia. But good catch there.
Yep. I don't know if did you mention this already, but it looks like Kayvon Wallace and Reed Blankenship are first team
Both
defense.
teams. Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
That seems to
yep.
be the case again. Yeah. Which is
And it's
crazy.
curious because it looks like Terrell Edmonds has been moved in occasionally whenever he decides to run this like 3 high safety look a
Mm-hmm.
couple times. But they said that he's kind of getting put in there almost like he's definitely in the box, but almost like a hybrid linebacker situation where like they're going to play different personnel and only have one linebacker on the field, and then have Terrell Edmonds out there where he kind of just moves into the box. It's a unique look, and that's not surprising for what we know Desai does. But I'll be curious to see, like especially if Edmonds does not get this starting job on safety, is this like a special package where he goes 3 high
Right.
safety look, but then it morphs into you basically have just 2 high, and you're kind of putting Edmonds in the box there as an extra backer. I don't know.
Something unique that you wouldn't see Gannon doing a lot of, right? I would never see Jonathan Gannon putting 3 safeties on the football field at one time, one of which being in the box as potential pass rusher or, gap filler to stop running backs. But seemingly with Desai, he moves people around. I mean, literally, you're at the point where there was a moment where they're running Nolan Smith at outside linebacker, and he's a Sam linebacker. He's not an outside linebacker, and yet decide moving him around a little bit, trying to see if he's capable of playing in a couple of different packages there. It feels like Desai is going to give you a bunch of different looks, and for a guy like Terrell Edmonds, you're not going to go ahead and cut him. They're not going to get rid of him. They're 100% going to keep him on this roster. But if Kevin Walls and Blankenship or Sidney Brown and Blankenship play better, then you still want to get, the veteran presence of Terrell Edmonds on the football field. This is your way of doing it with three high safeties. So a possibility, nonetheless.
Who was that there? I couldn't tell who that one was. Could you see that?
I couldn't see that one.
Was that Jalen? I think that's Jalen Carter.
Was it?
I think so. I could be. I need him to pan up. Yes. Yeah, that was JC. Okay, yep. Okay, yeah, he made the stop there. Obviously did something good enough to shed a block and get a tackle. It looks like that's against the third team, though. So.
I think it's the third team, yeah.
But still,
Tanner McKee
we'll take it.
Bad snap there and fumble and picked it up. That was the not the starting offensive line for Tanner McKee out there now. But yeah, it's hard to tell. It is definitely hard to tell. As we're going to stay live about another 5, maybe 10 minutes and then wrap this thing up since we're not getting any more practice footage. But obviously we'll both have videos tomorrow recapping what happened on the field today. So be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for that, as this is kind of going to be the new normal. I mean, talk about the live preseason game on Saturday. We're hopefully going to have that for you guys here, breaking down real hitting, which is something that Eagles have not done a lot of. Nick Sirianni notoriously does lighter practices. Yes, they've hit a little bit, but you can't really hit, A.J. Brown coming across the middle if you're at Eagles training camp right now. But against Baltimore, you're going to be able to. And Baltimore has some good young players, and I think that the backups are going to get a really, really good shot against a good football team that also has some solid backups. We're going to find out what happens.
I cannot wait. We've said it so many times. Without a doubt, like I don't even have to tell you. I don't have to tell probably anybody here, but Nolan Smith is the most exciting to me to watch. Like I cannot wait. The beauty is we're going to for sure have that stream. So for those that were expecting, and we were expecting to see a stream here, we had to settle with what we got on the screen now, but we will have the live stream. It'll be very clear. So we'll be talking about the game and everything else there. But I can't wait, because if we see some big plays from Nolan Smith, or we just see some other situations there, I mean, we've already talked about it. It's just going to blow up. It's going to go crazy. But I love to see or what we've heard in practice, but we're actually going to see it now, because I was hoping we get it tonight, but I guess we'll just have to wait for the preseason. But I'm telling you, if he makes plays, if Jalen Carter makes plays, people are going to go crazy, because this is what we've heard in camp, and then we finally get it solidified against the Baltimore team, which should be challenging for sure.
Drop pass there from Joseph Ngata, throwing from Tanner McKee, and you did see a Kennedy Brooks run, but again, this is third team versus third team right now up there for Philadelphia. And like Josh said, Josh and I will be live. We'll have a scoreboard underneath us for the preseason game, try and give you guys the best play-by-play possible to talk about who's in and who's playing well on Saturday night whenever the Eagles have their first preseason game. So be sure to sub and stay tuned for that, as we're going to have a lot of fun there. This is the best footage you possibly could get tonight, though, which is a bummer and a little bit of a letdown, but you saw Kennedy Brooks, with a nice carry up the middle, as you have backups versus backups. So, it is what it is. A couple of questions here really quick before we wrap things up. Flair the Fulf says, what are your opinion on Blankenship? Looking forward to him this year. I think Reed Blankenship's great. I think he's one of the few secondary pieces not named, or at the secondaries, there's a safety who started the entire time in training camp. It's not been a mixture when they put him off the football field. It's either Kayvon Walls in Blankenship, Terrell Edmonds in Blankenship, or it's Sidney Brown in Blankenship mixed in at the one. But Blankenship is the common denominator there at safety, and I think he's going to have a very good year. The word you keep hearing is cerebral. He understands where he's supposed to be and where he's not supposed to be, and that's kind of the thing that you want out of that starting safety spot, is just don't mess up, right? Be in the right position. Don't get absolutely obliterated, and so far, it looked like he's been pretty good. And a lot of people are singing the praises of Reed Blankenship.
Yep. And it's not, to your point, I mean, it's not as much of a surprise, because he did play very well whenever CJ Gardner-Johnson went down, and you're kind of questioning, like, can he do that? But he's had a lot of guys even leading up to it, of James Bradbury, Darius Slay, saying that he's going to be able to play well. So, I think there was a little bit of I thought there's a small chance that it's two safety spots that they were playing for. But I still thought that Reed Blankenship is definitely far and away the favorite, but it was very quick and obvious that the Eagles said, no, he's our guy. Like, we're very confident in him, because he does not come off the field for the first team reps, and they're sold on him. And the numbers prove it. You look at the different gradings on him in terms of the pass coverage and the tackling. Right. You can always improve, but I think he was a very pleasant surprise. And the Birds feel that way. Obviously, they're going to keep him out there. So now the question is, Who's it going to be next to him? Is it a Terrell Edmonds? We're seeing a lot of Kayvon Wallace, who says that he feels the best that he's ever had. He's obviously playing that way because Sirianni and Desire keep talking about him. He keeps moving into the first team like he's playing tonight. So
Right.
I think that's got to be, I don't know, that's got to be up there at the top. I don't know if it's the number one surprise, but that's got to be up there near the very top for me in terms of a guy who's made an impact I did not expect to hear or see before camp. But if he gets the job, then he's obviously playing well enough, and I'm all for it. So we'll see. Maybe he's kind of had the resurgence after it was thought like, maybe he wasn't the greatest selection because he didn't live up to the hype. But maybe he's a little bit later, and now we get to see it. Or again, Terrell Edmonds. It wouldn't surprise me because he's got that veteran leadership. So I don't know. I'll be interested to see how that one turns out as we keep going and definitely get into preseason.
Eagles have obviously not been playing their full starting linebacker set with Nakobe Dean being out there. Ben Van Sumeren has gotten some first-team reps tonight, along with Sean Bradley. So a couple of updates there. Who's had a
Okay,
nice
there you go.
camp. Obviously, the Michigan State linebacker, who's undrafted free agent, has had a nice camp. But with Nakobe Dean being out, they're kind of
I
desperate at linebacker,
don't
and
know
that's
if
why they
that's a
sign
good sign
people.
for Nicholas Morrow. I'm just saying, like, I know you
Not a
want to
good
get
sign.
everybody reps, but if
Not a
you're
good
playing a
sign.
Ben Van Sumeren and Sean Bradley at first team, I mean, you would just hope and assume or think like Nicholas Morrow is going to stay on first team with every one of the reps. If you're still thinking there's maybe something there, so I don't know. There's a chance. Looks like though Jeff Kerr mentions here. Speaking of another guy to possibly make an impact, though, says getting more and more convinced on Mekhi Garner going to make this team, especially
Wow.
after tonight here. So I know he's made some big plays. No one gets hit except for Mekhi Garner. Apparently lit up. Was it Charleston Rambo? I think he did
It
the other
was.
day.
Yes.
Much to the surprising non-ire of the coaching staff, it didn't sound like they really had any repercussions for lighting him up and giving a good hit. But yeah, apparently there it is from Jeff Kerr saying that's a guy
Wow.
that's looking very impressive. So I don't know how many cornerbacks you can keep on the roster. That's the challenge. Like even if you go with 6,
Right.
we know that it's Slay. We know it's Bradbury. Zach McPherson, to me, I think is going to be there. Avonte Maddox, obviously, but I think Zach McPherson, because of the depth and Maddox's injury history, and you don't know what's going on, and then Keely Ringo, because that's a high pick, and then Josh Jobe, we already talked. I mean, at that
Yeah.
point, like I don't know, it's kind of, do you keep another cornerback on the roster, or is Mekhi going to beat out Josh Jobe? But that'll be interesting to see. But apparently, Mekhi is definitely rising.
Some little news and notes that we'll obviously have on our shows tomorrow whenever we can kind of digest all the reports that are coming out of training camp and obviously coming out of this open practice. It's kind of hard to break down from someone's vertical phone video on YouTube of what exactly is going on. But if you guys want full breakdowns of what happened today on our shows tomorrow, sub to both of our channels. Most of you guys already do that. So a lot more of this to come. Obviously, a live stream on Wednesday night, 7 p.m. And then we will be live for the Saturday preseason week 1 against the Baltimore Ravens. That's going to be a bunch of fun. So looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
All right, we're
That
going to
is
go
gonna be a
ahead
blast.
and I believe sign off here as this is kind of the conclusion of practice that's getting ready to be done. They've already been going for an hour and 15 minutes, and they were only going to go for about an hour and a half. And so we're going to sign off here. Appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you guys in what will be plenty of more shows this week. So talk to you guys in the next one.
We'll see you.